felted ballet dancer. How did I make her? Let's find out. Hey, I'm Duthie, and I'm here to help you craft your career. And it's a Thursday, so it must be another needle felting tutorial. Every Thursday I make videos like this, so don't forget, come back every Thursday. So a friend of mine shared this picture of this ballet dancer that she'd found online and asked if I could make something like this. Now if you remember from my video above talking about what we can and can't sell online, because this isn't my own work, I'm not making it to sell, and I'm not giving you the tutorial so you can make it to sell. This is someone else's work and we can't sell it, but it's great for learning different techniques. So if I can find who the original artist was, I will pin them down in the comments down below. So don't forget to go over and check them out and tell them what wonderful work they do. So let's have a look at how I went about making this little dancer. Firstly, I needed an armature for her, and I actually made this armature very similarly to how I make my large dog armature. The head and the shoulders and the arms are made from one piece of wire, and then the torso and the legs from another. I wasn't sure of what size I was going with this, so I just kind of left them long to start with. Folding down what will be the head in this way because I was thinking I wanted some wire in round about where the chin is so I could manipulate her head position, tilt her head into appealing positions as I went along. And once I've got an armature that looks about the right length, I'm trying to fold in the hands and the feet in roughly about where I want them to be. So the best way for doing this was imagining the size of her head and holding her arms up above her head and then guessing roughly how much more I wanted her arms to extend. As this is slightly cartoony rather than realistic, her hands aren't really much higher than the top of her head. Whereas in real life, yeah, my arms are much longer. And like every other armature, I now wanted to wrap her head and body, so I used a small amount of my core wool and tried to make the legs and the arms as thin as possible and started building up some bulk over her head and torso. Now it would have probably been easier to do her entire body in a flesh colour, but I wasn't sure I had enough of the flesh, so I just used my core wool to start with and then spent a little bit of time shaping that up and felting it down a little bit. Going by the photograph, there's a little bit of kind of more roundedness in the arms and legs in between the joints, so I added a little bit of extra fibre to make things like a calf muscle, and then built up the top of the thighs and the top of the arms just ever so slightly. And of course building up a little bit of chest, a little bit of boobies for her. I didn't bother too much with hips or a waist or anything on her, as most of this will be covered by the tutu at a later date. And then I proceeded to wrap her head, arms, top of the torso and legs in the flesh colour. And then it was just a case of spending an hour or two felting this till it was really smooth. A trick I noticed while I was doing this, for the joints, for like the elbow and the knee, if I felted a lot into there to thin them out a little bit and let the legs be a little bit fatter, this really helped the look of her. Exactly the same in the wrists and ankles, felt in so this is narrower, and the hands and the feet splay out a little bit more. I decided with her hair to use curly brown hair because that's what I had, and I started from the centre of her head, wanted it to work on like being at a centre part, coming down her head past her imaginary ears and tucking in at the nape of her neck in a kind of loose bun. And so I just loosely felted that on and kept felting in different directions until I was happy with how it looked. Now, I understand why people like these Waldorf, however you say it, type sculptures with no eyes and facial expression. I know it's supposed to kind of inspire the imagination. I think I watched too much Doctor Who and Tales of the Unexpected when I was a kid, and the only imagination that's inspiring in me is a little bit creepy, a creature with the eyes and mouth covered up. But anyway, I understand why people do it, so I didn't add any facial expressions on her at all, but just a little dent in where her eyes would be, so rounded forehead, kind of dent in and then comes out for the nose and the cheeks. For the shoes, the tutu and the bodice, I'm using Pearl Merino from World of Wool. And to start with the shoes, I just took a couple of small little strips of fleece, felted them in at either side of the where the shoe was going to be, twisted them to be a finer point, wrapped it round across the front of the leg first, round to the back, felted it, and did the same for the other side of the shoe, and did the same for the other leg. And then to make the little ballet slippers, another piece of fleece, just winding and covering over her toes and round her feet, just as a ballet slipper would look. And for the bodice, I worked on up across her chest and then down in a V in her back and made the bodice, just felted that in nice and firmly. In the original picture, she has some beads and stuff across the bodice, which would also look rather beautiful. And finally for the skirt, I just cut a really thick chunk of this tops and felted it round in a circle around her. Did this in a couple of layers just to let it fan out a little bit, and then turned her upside down and felted up her skirt a little bit as well, just to puff it out a little bit more. So that's all there is to it. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make her. If you make anything like this and would like to share it, pop along to Pam Duthie's Felting Friends on Facebook. Don't forget, click on my wee face to subscribe, check out some of my other videos, give us a thumbs up and come back every Thursday for more videos like these. Thank you so much.